There, once again. Yeah, thank you. I'm doing fine. I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. It's a pleasure to speak to you today. Whereabouts in the world are you at the moment?
I'm at home in Helsinki.
Ah, okay. Not touring at the moment. Have a little break.
No, not until all of July. Pretty much all of July has been vacation, which is different. Um, it's been a
Yeah.
while since we did it like that. Uh, no, so the next thing is now enough. Next week we go to Romania, and then it's France and you guys, and then it
Yeah,
really
yeah.
starts ramping up again in September, and we start doing you know
Yeah, okay. So what have you
big
been
business.
doing during that vacational period?
Uh, Not so many things. Purposely, we rented a cabin for a while there by a lake. What else did I do? I thought there was something else. No, that's just also both me and my wife have been traveling a lot, not with each other. So a lot of it was, hang out here in town, really, and then then leave it all behind and hang at a cabin for a while. But it's been proper, not do so many things by design.
Oh, that's good. You kind of need a break. Touring can be quite hectic, and now that you're making a long flight to Australia, it's I feel like you're going to be exhausted after that trip. We're going to go pretty hard for you.
Yeah, but that's a weird thing, right? When you do, I think yeah, gonna be. I don't even think we will have time to be jet lagged because it's such a brief little first visit. Uh, but I don't know. You gain energy from doing these kind of things as much as you spend. So that's why it also sneaks up on you when you're really like, oh no, wait, you need a break. That feeling can come, um, hit you like a hammer once it arrives because it is a job, but we have too much fun doing it to sometimes realize what you put into it, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like after 20 years of doing it, your body gets into the swing of things as well. So you're kind of used to going out on tours and um, yeah, when your body needs a break, it tells you you need a break.
Maybe. No,
No, not so much for you.
that's no. The dangers of it is, I guess, that sometimes it's rather, oh, you needed a break a month ago. That
Yeah.
happens. That you don't really allow yourself to feel. But I guess we gotten better at it too. But we also, I don't know, we like working, and then the way our work goes, you suddenly in the middle of a tour, suddenly you get to hang out at a beach in some tropical place for a day, and suddenly, it's all a bit chopped up. All the the normal way of measuring this is work time, this is off time, this is your job, this is your passion, you know, this is your family, these are your colleagues. All those things blur together, which is great. In most measurable ways, it's a really cool thing and a cool way to spend your life. But I guess again that also leads to realize you've become fried by doing something you love. It's different. But then I also realize now being home for a month, um, purposely taking time off, I'm not great at it. I also realize, I'm not great at. So I was okay at doing some kind of 9 to 5 existence at the time when that was still necessary. Uh, but I wasn't great at it, and I'm definitely not great at this, you know, focused big chunk of vacation.
Yeah,
You know,
right. So do you find that your brain starts to wander and think about music and creating music again during that
well,
downtime?
it comes and goes in waves, no matter what I'm doing. I think anytime I get to shut off other. No, wait, I have to think about this for a moment because it very what I you walk around with these things on your ears maybe a bit too much during the day, to
Yeah.
cancel out the noise of the world with noise of your choosing. When depending on what that is, that can kind of lessen the input into creativity um, a bit. Uh, so there's something to be said about, take this off and let your head fill itself with its own noise for a while, and you start getting ideas. Or maybe what you put in these uh, is not all shouldn't maybe not always be the easiest choice of stuff. Um, so I don't know. Like as of late now, I have filled up my phone with wonky unplugged guitar things that I need to put in a proper recording session, and are those random lines that have shown up from things I've read or things or thoughts of my own and stuff, that there's a tiny little pile now that start to, oh wait, that's actually gonna be something. Um, but that happens. I mean, we don't really write a ton of music on tour, but you have a day here and a day there when, you know, you jam with yourself, and it's kind of like the ketchup bottle effect with
Yeah.
it, that you don't do it for a while and boom, then it's all there. And I think same with vacation, you accumulate maybe some kind of restlessness with it, but it has little to do with if I'm off or on in terms of work. It happens when it happens, and then it's more about carving out time to actually work on the ideas, like, because this is a very sweet stage. Like if I record two riffs in a little voice memo on the phone, and the song will never be better than that, because then it's just all ideas and promises. So it might become the next Stairway to Heaven. I mean, it probably won't, but right now it's just that all these things it can be. And we face that a lot with a band, that sometimes you get things even further, right? That you do your little demos and you have your drum machine and record on your laptop the song. And we have had many half songs that are better, potentially better than anything we have ever done. But it's nothing until you have that other half.
Yeah.
Stuff like that was on Dance Devil Dance, the Dirt I'm Buried In, had those clean guitars in the beginning, and the disco beat and the chorus that has existed for like a decade. But it was everything. It was everything in the sense of that this is great. This is part of something huge. This is a game changer for us artistically, and also if we're probably, and now we're doing all the whole radio charting in the US and whatnot, like, and that half had it. And then you try to force it to become something because that is so good. And there are half a dozen of the Dirt I'm Buried In that has been thrown away, discarded, because they were terrible at the end of the day as songs.
Yeah,
And it's
right.
only now when finally things fell into place where it's an actual song. And those kind of halves, you keep piling up on those. And it's, and as we are many people who write, as we reach out to each other, hey, that thing you did there, that's so great. Let's do that. And for the person here, it's like, yeah, because you're stuck. And
Yeah.
if the other person doesn't have that, which, we're very collaborative. So the other person may or may, if that person doesn't come with, I got something for that, that is always that half of a song or quarter of a song that just haunts you until it doesn't, and then you get the Dirt I'm Buried In, and then everything is
Yeah.
awesome.
Is that the same with I know that when you were creating the album, you had the word dance in mind that you needed
Mm-hmm.
to put in there. Was that a process going through and thinking like maybe it just doesn't fit until, Dance Devil Dance came along?
Uh, I I think it's common for people, whoever does the lyrics in a band, that you get stuck on words and things for a while. Like some fan pointed out how many times I used the word dirt, and I'm like, yeah, I do. Okay, wow. And that was before the Dirt I'm Buried In was even out. So
Yeah,
it's like, oh,
right.
just you wait. And yeah, dance. I it's definitely one of those things that I was stuck on for years. If I think about it, even in the top of my mind, or really buried deep somewhere back there, but it would come and go in waves. There was always that line of "I never seen you dance like that before." Also one of those that now that we talk about, I remember from my early 20s. So sure, that is around, but as far as when it came to Dance Devil Dance goes, um, whatever. As much as this isn't a concept album, you still is part of the same period of putting songs together and stuff, and it summarizes something. Uh, so that overarching concept for songs and albums, unless it is like with Feathers and Flesh, where we set out to do, now we're gonna have a concept, a story, once upon a time. Unless we do it like that, the conceptual thing of the band, we let it grow out of the songs. First you have to come you know come up with a bunch of riffs and see what makes sense to write out of those. And once you have a little pile, or you have a couple of different piles, and you try to see which piles come together and make sense together. And once stuff start to really come together, you start to see, in this case, yeah, kind of obvious. The devil is here. It's dark. It's also fun. It's playful. It's dance music, rock and roll, and stuff. And then there are a couple of impulses that happen where the concrete idea comes. In the case of Dance Devil Dance, I was out. We're still in the pandemic, and I started to jog a bit further. So I got a little run round here I do where that is like 13K, and I'm not fast or anything, but it's enough for me to get a runner's high. And listening to some intense rave music playlist that my brother put together for workouts. You got this boom, boom, boom in your ears.
Yeah, that beats per minute that you can
in a trance-like state. Yeah, in a trance-like state, I come to realization that I am Satan. And it made perfect sense at the time. And there's a symbolic value in that still makes total sense. And that stayed. That stuck around. So the next time when I work on vocals for the song, it's in there. I'm Satan, I'm freedom. And that's shaping the whole thing. And again, the playfulness of around it. So you do, I don't know, stars really aligned after a while there, where, yeah, I want to deal with all this inner darkness, but also this sense of liberation. And it's playful. Oh, line dancing, disco dancing, dance instructions, do the hustle, do that. But what if it's a ritual that you do like that as a dance, and so on, and it's just falls into place. But it came out of, specific, inspired moments that just life provides if you're open for them. And then also a gathering of all of our ideas, and start to see which ideas of yours fit with which ideas of mine. Because I wrote I feel like there are three of us that kind of come up with songs, and we all finish them, all five of us together. And we always seem to have two or three directions each. Speaking for myself, I had a couple of songs we were pulling some kind of progressive folk metal thingy, psychedelic weird little thing there. And then there was the rock and roll things, and I don't remember what the third thing I did was, but and similar to the other guys. And then it's just, oh, that's cool, everything is cool, but what do I have to actually mold together? And for instance, if Jonas had a collection of more technical death metal stuff, but then he also had a bunch of ideas that felt more raw, not old school and sounding like exactly like Obituary, but kind of having still that energy. And the Obituary stuff fit a bit more with my rock and roll stuff than his technical death metal stuff fit with my doomy folk metal. So it's a little puzzle that you lay.
Yeah. It's like a kind of, the lyric side is definitely a bit of a constellational mind map that you're pulling from. But then the genres come together, like almost in like a bit of a melting pot, and you're trying to
Yeah,
work out the right potion to put
yeah,
together, which is
basically,
kind of cool.
yeah, you put a lot of things in, and then comes the next part is when you start to take a lot of things out. I guess that's simple.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we really want and need a period of, there are no rules yet. We will establish rules over time. But for now, we throw everything at the wall to see. We need to see what we got and see what really turns everybody on,
I think that's
basically.
working for you though, without
Yeah,
those constraints, because I think you said like this feels to you to be your best album yet.
yes.
So why change something that's working for you?
Well, to be fair, I still think everything, it changes a little bit all the time. For instance, the whole thing of taking things out, that second half of the process, we get better at that because
Mm,
it is eclectic. It comes from many minds, and it is a very collective trip that we're on with Avatar, which is what we want as being a band. That is exactly what we want. But then to make that and still give it a sense of focus. So it's eclectic in the sense that there are a bunch of different, very different songs from each other. At the core, still built around, hey, Black Sabbath are cool, let's do some riffs. It's based in that, but still very different songs. But this time, I think we're better than ever at making each song focused. I always bring the example of like, whereas you could write a song that's angry, then sad, and a little bit horny. It's better, we feel, at this time to do one angry song, one sad song, and one that is a little bit horny. So, 3 songs rather than one that you cram everything inside of. That is more, Michael Jackson Thriller rather than Genesis Selling England by the Pound. Is that what that album is called? I think so, yeah.
yeah.
Or
I
is
feel
that the
like if
opening
you
track?
put all of those three emotions into the one song, you've got a really confused person
Well,
like listening to it.
sometimes it works, but then maybe you need 10
Yeah,
minutes also. And that is not what we are about at this time.
yeah,
Sometimes we
yeah.
are, but at this time, at least now, let's see. Because again, now we are collecting a little piles that we're gonna share with each other at some point, slowly ramp up what the next thing will be. And that is still, that remains to be seen. That maybe then it makes sense to do, oh no, let's do a proper epic. Let's whatever that entices. Because I would say, with the philosophy that we have now, we wouldn't have done Master of Puppets the way Metallica did it. That whole clean guitar, beautiful harmonizing, twin leading that happens in the middle wouldn't
Which
be
makes
inside
it the
our version of
most,
Master of Puppets.
yeah.
And it was a great idea at that time, for that song is one of the greatest metal songs ever done, or greatest songs period ever done. So there are no right or wrongs in this, and there is a time and place, but it's just our mindset at this time is more British steel than 7-8 minute Metallica epics.
Yeah. And I think you know, looking at Master of Puppets, it is now so wildly commercial. Um, I think maybe Stranger Things had a bit to do with that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it's one of those songs that kind of transcends into the commercial world, to the general population. I don't know if that's on like the vision board for you guys, if you want to go beyond it and like break into those chart settings. Is that on the vision board?
The job description with Avatar, what we specific, the parameters under which we work is always, we want to write and perform our own material, take that as far as we possibly can under circumstances where we remain friends. And that's it. And what that entices in terms of how highly something can chart and stuff. And now, right now, we are doing better than ever. So,
Yeah.
um, but that might come and go depending on what we feel in our hearts we need to do, or the taste of the world changes, or there are all kinds of things that go into that. So under those parameters, if we can do those things and then become as big as AC/DC, then all is well and done. But there's also a factor in what we do where it's all about those who get it, and those who don't, they don't, and it's fine. That's everything.
Yeah.
There, even with those giants, even with the Beatles, there's still more people in the world that don't really listen to them than who listen to them, and there's no band that's more listened to than the Beatles. So to think in those terms, how far you want to reach with it, if that's part of the creating, I think, as there are no real answers to what works and doesn't. In hindsight, it can always seems to be, and especially if you go ultra commercial with what's charting pop music is. But for each, 4-chord song cliche that it becomes super successful, there are probably tens of thousands of songs like that are tried and never work, despite being very similar to what totally works. So if you start to try to emulate the things that seem to totally work at this time, you're more likely to end up in that pile of tens of thousands of things that don't. So it doesn't help, even if we would want to. I don't believe it would help us to think along those lines. You have to just, again, do the things that resonates with you, that means something to you, that you're a fan of, and then and that is, I think, the most likely way that you will do something that cuts through the noise and can connect with people. And to, yeah, that's it, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And I think those people that don't get it clearly haven't seen one of your live shows, because the energy that goes into that, I mean, it's just pure entertainment.
Thank you.
There's no way that someone watching it wouldn't enjoy like being in the crowd. Is that
So
something that you um, is that something that you like consciously were putting into Dance Devil Dance?
Yes and no. I mean, again, it's, I think the end goal for any song we make, as much as for every time we go to the studio nowadays, I start liking it more and more. And it starts as necessarily evil to get up on stage. Now I think we're as a bit better at being creative while recording. So now there's more to it in my mind. So I like it more than ever, but it's still all about the stage. And it's still, but it's not like, oh, this is, I will now write a riff that is great to if people jump to it. It's you do things that turn you on, that excites you, that you want to play, that you want to record and put out in the world, and that excitement carries over to the live setting, and you get to know the songs again in front of an audience, and then you realize, oh yeah, we need to jump now. That comes after. So I think we protect the art side of this by say that it starts and ends with the music, and then you build everything in between throughout the ride. And that being said, yeah, like we are extremely passionate then about the live shows. I think that is an art form in itself, of course, performing arts, and that two-way street that you're supposed to create with the audience. And I think even the art, when you're in a band, it's like this concept art project that goes beyond composing. And yeah, the concept art. I was going somewhere with this. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
The concept art. No, yeah, and I think in that way of thinking, that show business is an art form in itself. But if I don't think it would work to think show business the first, along with when you start thinking riffs that make you want to break shit. You need that first. Then you quickly, again, if you feel good about what you come up with, then you kind of quickly start to see yourself doing that on stage as part of that. That's a vision that evolves when you feel like you have some good stuff.
Yeah, and I guess you know, the energy coming from each other being on the stage as well also then kind of dictates how the show is going to look
Yeah,
and
I
how
mean,
you respond as well, the crowd. Like it's an environmental
yeah,
you know, influence.
we go out there with a plan, but then one of the most important skills to own is what we do is theatrical, meaning as in not literal theater, because that's a script you need to stick to. You don't ad lib Hamlet. There are certain things you need to achieve, and I like that. I've been to ballet and I like it. I've been to opera and I like it. Our art form is still is a rock and roll show. Has more, it's closer to professional wrestling or to stand up comedy or anything anything that is where the audience truly participates and are part of the end result, not just, oh, we nailed it and we felt it because we did so great interpreting Hamlet. No, there's
Yeah.
some. So we go out there with a plan. We know we want to circle headbang at the same time and do our windmills here on this riff or whatnot, or kind of how I should cue into a certain song. But there are a lot of moving parts that you know over time there's that evolution throughout a tour. Also because you evolve good material, but then you also, in order to perform well, you still need to be wiggle room all the time for little changes so you can surprise each other, excite each other as well, to keep going
Yeah.
and have the 50th show be as special as the first show. So it is
Yeah.
this balance act.
I will say, sometimes keeping those two elements, like the Hamlet and the, you know, stage theatre, like separate, is great because I recently saw Smashing Pumpkins, and they
Mm-hmm.
brought out pro wrestlers on the stage and started
Yeah,
having
because
them.
Billy Corgan bought the National Wrestling Association
Yeah,
Alliance, National
it
Wrestling
was
Alliance. Sorry.
yeah, an interesting experience to say the least. Very distracting from, you know, you singing along to 1979 and then all of a sudden
Mm-hmm.
like their body slamming each other. It was a
I
weird
would love to see that.
experience. I mean, yeah, it's at least something that I can say I've witnessed now. But yeah, definitely took away from the songs and the music. Yeah.
It's all about trying to make all those moving parts make sense. But Billy Corgan is very passionate about his songwriting and about professional wrestling. So
Yeah, exactly. So we're not going to be seeing any professional wrestling in Australia up on that stage. Maybe,
I don't own wrestling association with almost 100-year legacy
yeah,
yet.
no.
So not this time.
No. What about joining in on, you know, one of our biggest traditions of doing a shoey? Do you know what a shoey is? Like drinking beer from a shoe on stage. I saw recently that you had there was a fan drinking gasoline on the
Oh yeah.
stage.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't drink alcohol anymore, so I can drink out of anything. But what's in it will have to dictate what I drink. Just a heads up that my next interview will start very, very shortly.
Yeah, no worries. I was just gonna ask, will this be an ongoing thing that you're gonna return to Australia if this
That's the
goes
idea.
well?
The
Yeah,
first time is the hardest. People, if they show up and then tell everybody what they saw and what everybody else missed who didn't show up, so we can do a bigger place next time and so on, and start doing the thing. We come fully with the intent of not just playing every other decade in Australia. Uh, we are we are there to write the greatest love story ever told uh, with with your country. So that's the goal, absolutely.
yeah,
And
definitely.
again, this is the sales pitch, but it's also how I feel. I don't think we have ever been as good as we are now in terms of live performances. So if there's any time to see us, it is now.
Amazing. I'll definitely be putting that in the story. And also hopefully
Excellent.
next time you can do an all ages show. I know that there's been a lot of requests for that.
Yeah,
Um
kids dig us.
yeah, and why not? I mean, you're a lot of fun. Your music's amazing. this
Yeah,
album.
as long as parents are willing to, you know, it's up to them to read the lyrics first or not.
Yeah, maybe just you know, tell a couple of fibs about what it's about until they're older.
Yeah, all those awkward questions on the ride home from the show. That's my gift to any responsible parent. So I gotta run to the next
No,
one.
that's okay. Thank you so much for
Very
the
nice
chat. I
talking
really
to you.
appreciate it. See you when you're
Likewise.
here.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.